Welcome to BYU Radio's Big Stories, a show dedicated to the incredible tales surrounding the opponents of the BYU Cougars. I'm your host, Cleon Wall. The mass of humanity rushed FBC Mortgage Stadium Field on the night of November 11th, 2023. The UCF Knights had just wrapped up a dominating 45-3 win over 15th-ranked Oklahoma State. And fans were allowed onto the field to celebrate with the football players who were clad in canaveral blue uniforms. Whoa, wait a minute. The Knights' official colors are black and bright gold. Why would they wear uniforms that are so different from the norm? And what is canaveral blue? The easy answer to those questions is space.
In 2017, space was becoming really cool again.
This is Jimmy Skiles.
I'm the Chief Branding Officer for UCF Athletics.
He and his coworkers were dreaming up a way to market the unique qualities of the University of Central Florida.
Eric and I were talking about how great it would be to tell the space story through athletic events.
The story of Space University began in the 1960s.
We were literally founded as a university to assist NASA in the growing space program.
But this tale doesn't start in the Sunshine State. It commenced on September 12th, 1962, on the campus of Rice University. That's when President John F. Kennedy made a bold declaration.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
UCF was essentially established after President Kennedy's moonshot speech.
Central Florida government and business leaders saw the potential of a budding aerospace industry after NASA's Mercury program in the early 1960s.
So they needed a spot where engineers could take continuing education classes or where they could train up more engineers.
Charlene Martin is an engineer with NASA collaborator Lockheed Martin.
So Florida Technological University was started to educate the engineers that would be involved in the space program.
The original name is Space University.
Manoj Chopra is a professor of civil engineering at the University of Central Florida.
We also had another name which didn't stick for obvious reasons, which was University of Florida at Orlando, because that would be UFO.
By the time I got here in 1982, it had just changed names over to the University of Central Florida because they'd expanded. They do a lot of research to support NASA. A lot of the engineering research projects are to support NASA and to support a lot of the aerospace industry that exists in Central Florida. I've always had space as a part of my growing up. As I was getting out of the Navy, I was applying for engineering jobs. And it just so happened at that time, the Kennedy Space Center was hiring because they were starting the space station planning. So I got hired initially to start working with the original space station.
3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff of Space Shuttle Atlantis.
I got transferred over to the Space Shuttle program and in operations, which I actually got to be in the Launch Control Center for several of the shuttle operations or launches. So it was just, I think that's the best job I've ever had.
One UCF alum's work spurred another space aspirations.
Hi, my name is Jillian Gloria. I am a propulsion systems test engineer for United Launch Alliance and a UCF alum. Go Knights. Growing up in Orlando was really unique when it comes to space because you could just be walking to third grade and you see a space shuttle launching humans into orbit. Those people are going somewhere. And that's what's really special about space exploration is that even as a child, 4, 5, 6 years old, you understand the complexity of what's happening before your eyes without understanding any of the engineering or media that goes into making one of these things launch. I graduated in December 2022, but now I'm here in mission control
3,
launching rockets.
2, 1, ignition, engine full power, and liftoff. Go active 3.
When I grow up, I want to be an astronaut, so my dream is to build the landing pads and the roads on the moon. So this is a great opportunity for me as a test engineer to be able to understand how operations work on a launch pad so one day I could build the launch pads on the moon.
Being a UCF grad is not uncommon in the aerospace industry.
30% of NASA's workforce has gone through our either our aerospace engineering program or our engineering management training program. So our college has really impacted the Kennedy Space Center and other space centers as well.
The space program has also impacted the Knights athletic department before they were called the Knights. Here again is Jimmy Skiles.
Before we were the UCF Knights, we were the FTU Citronauts for a brief period of time. The Citronaut was to celebrate the ties to what at the time Central Florida was known for, the growing space program and oranges. And he's a lovable character. He's a astronaut orange mix. He wears a space helmet on his head, and then he has an orange body.
Which leads us back to Jimmy's story about how the athletic department wanted to help market UCF's space story to the country. That's when they came up with the idea of the space game.
Our very first space game was in 2017. There was just a few helmet decals and a mission patch.
That small change was a big hit, and the space game was here to stay.
We really hit it at the right time, too, where not just UCF fans, but kind of college football in general was like, man, the space game, that's really cool.
For 2018, the athletic department worked with Nike on the space football uniform of tomorrow. It would not feature the name Knights nor the traditional colors of black and gold. The team's garb would be space-related. The unis featured constellation patterns on the helmet sleeves and neckline, the introduction of the Canaveral blue color, and the reintroduction of the beloved Citronaut. The fans ate it up.
Oh man, the feeling in the stadium was great. There's a great debate of UCF fans of what was the best space uniform. I am a big fan of 2018 just because it was our first, and I think that's why fans gravitate to it. It was our first head-to-toe customized space uniform.
Our equipment folks that deal with our uniforms spend a lot of time coming up with very creative space uniforms.
Here again is Professor Chopra.
And I don't know if it's a scientific poll or not, but our space uniform typically is featured in the top 4 at the end of the season as one of the most creative and attractive uniforms.
The website Uniswag deemed UCF football's space attire the tops in the nation twice. The players, like Knights wide receiver Stephen Martin, also dig the unique uniforms.
In the tunnel, there's some like LED lights that kind of flash, and the media crew is always in there before the game. They get some pictures. And I remember specifically, there were a few pictures that were snapped of me that ended up on the ESPN account, the college football account, because it was like the reflective numbers and it looked really cool and it was kind of blurry in a way. Just the buzz around the game, it just gives us a little extra motivation.
For Stephen, the motivation is familial. Charlene Martin, who you heard from earlier in this episode, is his mother.
My mom worked in the NASA program, the space shuttle program, and she was actually on the helmet from 2 years ago when they put the former UCF alumni.
So my husband actually entered my name and put the information in there. I didn't know all this was going on. He happened to mention in there, and she has a son on the football team. So of course, being space game, football, everything together, people reading that thought, oh, this is fantastic. And so I saw it as it came out when Stephen forwarded it to us and said, hey, look, your name's going to be on it. I didn't know that my husband had done that. So it was really exciting. I felt like I was on the field too with him.
The space game has turned into something more than telling the story of space, honoring UCF alums, and wearing fancy uniforms.
It is an event on this campus. It is it's a combination of a football game, a costume party, educational lecture, because people are learning about what's happening at UCF and for the space industry. So it's way more than a game, and it's really taken on the personality of our fans as well.
We went back to the branding of Space U because we felt that athletics, which is typically the front porch of a university and can and does attract a lot of very good students to the university. An example being how our admissions and our quality of recruits went up after how well we did in some of the bowl games.
University professor Manoj Chopra was excited for the show and tell opportunities before the game in 2023.
We're going to be featuring our Baja car. It's going to have the Space U branding. We're going to have some rockets out there. I believe athletics is arranged for the rover, from the Mars rover, to come from NASA. You will see me wearing a Citronaut shirt for just that game. And it just brings in the flavor of UCF's DNA of space as we go forward.
The football team has also made the space game special, not losing one contest since it started. The only thing that would make the space game more spacey would be to have a rocket launch near game time. How about at halftime of a night game? I'm not sure NASA could time it just right, but it would be an amazing sight.
One of my favorite moments that happened in the stadium was after we beat Georgia Tech, minutes after the game. There was it was a SpaceX launch, and everybody stayed in their seats on the west side. People ran to the top of the stadiums on the east side of the stadium. And the stadium PA was playing Rocket Man. It was the twilight hour, so it was a beautiful sky. And we just had celebrated beating Georgia Tech, and then off goes this modern marvel of technology blasting off into space. And the rockets go straight up, for the most part, line with our 50-yard line. The numbers on our uniforms this year match kind of the trajectory that the rockets follow as they go into space.
I haven't seen a rocket launch from the stadium, but I used to live literally across the street from the stadium, so I would see them all the time.
Here again is propulsion systems engineer Jillian Gloria.
I was drawn to UCF because of their huge involvement in the space industry. So before this job, when I looked up at the sky, I would feel vastness. I would feel inspiration. I would feel longing. And I would feel excitement, right? And a honing to be part of whatever was up there. Now that I actually launch rockets, I never thought that feeling would go away, and it hasn't really gone away. All of these opportunities I have on my resume currently were provided by UCF.
The university hopes their yearly space game will inspire the astronauts and engineers of the future.
My ultimate goal every year for the space game is that some kid out there is watching the football game and sees UCF wearing these space uniforms and Space U, and that they learn about what UCF is doing, and they have dreams of going to the moon, going to Mars, sending rockets to space, and they look at this football game and be like, man, Space U, UCF, that's where I want to go to school. You go back to JFK's original charge to go to the moon, that wasn't for people then. It was for the future. It's journey. It's going into the unknown.
Because he said more than just going to the moon. He also said he wants us to be a part of the American experiment. And I think UCF is developing those kind of people that are going to continue to become the leaders of the next generation of the American experiment, which is to be excellent.
We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon.
It would warm my heart if the first person to ever go to Mars was somebody who'd been to a UCF space game.
Thanks to ESPN, NASA, and the John F. Kennedy Presidential Library. And thank you for listening to Big Stories. This episode was produced by Nathan Cannon and me, Cleon Wall. Music and post-production by Kevin West. Make sure you watch BYUtv's Big Stories by logging on to BYUSN.com. Big Stories is a production of BYU Radio.